Hello everyone. Welcome to Mystic Macabre 01, where we bring you real, chilling, and mysterious ghost stories. If you're a fan of the paranormal, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and get ready to step into today's story. The Creepy Janitor. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to never miss a spooky story. Ding Dong Ghost, the Creepy Janitor. It all started when I was a junior in high school. One day I had to make an emergency trip to the bathroom. My stomach was in knots, and I could feel a nasty bug taking its toll on me. As I rushed down the hallway, trying to make it in time, I suddenly heard a faint whistling sound coming from the other end of the hall. As I approached the bathroom, I realized the whistling was coming from inside. I didn't think much of it, aside from being slightly annoyed. I really wanted the place to myself, given the disaster that was about to unfold. I rushed into a stall and took care of business, but the entire time, the whistling continued. Whoever was in there with me never left. I must have been in the stall for 10 minutes, yet the man remained, whistling and humming the entire time. At first I assumed he was a janitor, but something about the situation felt off. After I finished, I quickly washed my hands, avoiding eye contact with the man lingering nearby. I was embarrassed and in a hurry to get back to class. Being gone too long might get me in trouble. But then, something completely unnerving happened. The janitor started walking toward me. He stopped just a foot away, so close I could feel his breath on my skin. A shiver ran down my spine as a sickening feeling settled in my gut. I turned to look at him, only to be met with the most disturbing smile I had ever seen. His eyes were cold, empty, and his grin sent a wave of dread crashing over me. "What the hell, man?" I blurted out. He didn't say a word, just stood there, grinning. I hurried out of the bathroom and back to class, still shaken. When I told my friend about it, his face turned pale. He had experienced the same thing with that very same janitor. We planned to report him, but never followed through. After school, my friend Elias, another friend Peyton, and I decided to walk together as we often did. We loved taking the shortcut through a wooded trail near the school. It was faster and more fun than the usual route. As we walked, we talked about the creepy janitor. Peyton admitted he had heard strange things about him too. And then, as if our words had summoned him, we saw a figure up ahead. "No way," Peyton whispered. "Isn't that him?" We froze. As we got closer, we confirmed our worst fear. It was the janitor. "Let's turn around," Peyton suggested, but Elias and I kept walking. As we passed him, the janitor turned to watch us. Then, out of nowhere, he called after us. "Hey, you boys want to hang out?" Not only was this man a school janitor, someone who should have been an authority figure, but he was now trying to befriend a group of teenagers. He had to be at least 55 years old. Why would he want to hang out with kids? We ignored him and picked up our pace, but then he started jogging toward us. That was the moment we broke into a full sprint. Then he screamed, and I turned just in time to see the gleam of a knife in his hand. We ran as fast as we could, screaming for help. For 5 long minutes, we didn't stop. When we finally lost him, our hearts were pounding out of our chests. The next day, we reported everything to the school and the police, along with our parents. And then we learned the truth. The school had no idea who this man was. He was not a janitor. He was a convicted sex offender who had been pretending to be a school janitor. Somehow he had managed to infiltrate the school undetected for months. He had a court order requiring him to stay away from children, But that clearly didn't stop him. The scariest part, given how he chased us with a knife, I believe he was planning to do something much worse this time. Some people are so twisted that it's impossible to comprehend. I still shudder thinking about how close we were to becoming his next victims. Schools need better security, because a place meant for learning should never turn into a hunting ground for predators. Story 2. The Lockdown. It was just another ordinary day at school. I was in the 10th grade, and lunchtime had just started. My friends and I were goofing off like usual, barely eating before spending the rest of the break playing around. Halfway through lunch, the PA system crackled to life. This is an emergency alert. Please follow lockdown procedures. Find the nearest room or building, lock the doors, and turn off the lights. This wasn't a drill. We usually got warnings before drills, but this was sudden. To make things worse, our principal, Mr. Harrison, sounded genuinely panicked. For some reason, my friends thought it would be funny to sneak out of the cafeteria. I stupidly followed them. We split up, and soon it was just me and my friend Andrew wandering the darkened hallways. Then we heard it. 3 gunshots, followed by screaming. Without thinking, we bolted. Running blindly, we sprinted past the school entrance and straight into the woods behind the soccer field. Police sirens wailed in the distance. I was terrified, not just because of the shooter, but also because we had broken lockdown rules. What if the cops thought we were involved? We hid for what felt like hours, trying to calm each other down. Eventually, the police found us and detained us, assuming we might be part of the situation. But once everything was sorted out, we learned the horrifying truth. The shooter was a kid from another school. He had come to kill someone specific, but failed. I never should have left that cafeteria. That day, I learned a lesson I would never forget. Story 3. The last day of high school. My last day of high school should have been a happy one, but I was in a terrible mood. My family life was a mess, and I wasn't excited about saying goodbye to my friends. I decided to skip my biology class. My teacher, Mr. Johnson, was a nightmare, constantly getting into arguments with students. Instead, I hid in the library, killing time on my phone. Then, the intercom blared. "Attention! We are now in lockdown." I assumed it was a drill until I heard the screaming. My stomach dropped. I quickly hid under a desk, checking my phone. My classmates were frantically texting me. "This is real. Where are you?" Then footsteps echoed through the empty library. A flashlight clicked on. Someone was searching. Peeking out, I saw a shadowy figure. My breath hitched as the light landed on me. And then, I saw his face. "Tyler?" I whispered. Tyler had been my friend in middle school before we drifted apart. But now, he was holding a gun, tears streaming down his face. "Put the gun down," I urged. Silence stretched between us before. Finally, he broke down. Dropping to his knees, he sobbed. I kicked the gun away and told him it wasn't too late to do the right thing. Miraculously, he listened. I walked him to the office, where we found a teacher who led him straight to the police. If it had been anyone else, I believe he would have pulled the trigger. Violence like this doesn't come from nowhere. Tyler had been bullied, abused, and suffering for years. It doesn't excuse his actions, but it makes one thing clear. We need to do more to prevent tragedies before they happen.